Y'all had to see this coming, right? G8 versus V60. And oh boy. Look at the size discrepancy. What I will say is this. If you have and you love, your G8, your regular G8, keep it. Because it's just not the same, and since there's basically no longer going to be a G series anymore, LG has pretty much confirmed that. The G8 or the G8X is basically the proper step in able to keep this smaller form factor alive until the LG Velvet comes out, right? God, the fucking screen keeps activating, man, because of the face unlock. So let's talk about this. The things I like more about the G8 and are not deal breakers on the V20. I just made a V20 video, sorry. They're not deal breakers on the V60. God, this keeps happening, man. I'm going to just keep it on the... flip both these over. They're not deal breakers on the V60. I prefer rear-mounted fingerprint sensors. While the fingerprint sensor on the V60 is definitely fast enough for me personally, it's not this, right? It's not... Oh, I gotta unlock the phone. It's not this. It's not just tap. It's not tap and go. And that's just the state of in-display fingerprint sensors now. I miss the face unlock. The face unlock on the G8, I really do like. I kind of hope they would improve on it. Because there are minor things about it, like there are things about it like it'll unlock. You can put it to someone's face with their eyes closed and it'll still unlock. That's one thing. But since, reviewers bashed the G8 for having it for the wrong reasons, they basically bashed the notch only because of the gestures and not because face unlock. It's stupid. But yeah, they also just wanted to cut costs, right? So that's totally fine. In terms of headphone performance, what would I say? That's pretty much an LG trademark at this point, right? Headphone performance. Honestly, when I plugged in my short tapes into my V60, what I noticed off the bat, say with songs like, let me look. With songs like The Watcher 2 by Jay-Z, Dr. Dre, Rakim, Truth Hurts, there's more echo to it. There's a more like roomy feel to it. It's almost as if it's kind of like it's not a live performance, but it's as if you're in the studio itself while they're recording it and there's a bit of echo there, right? That's kind of what it feels like. And I like that. It sounds really nice. Would I necessarily say it's better? That's up to you. That's honestly up to you. For me personally, I do think it's better. It's still as clear, as crisp, as bassy, as loud. If not a little bit, it feels a little bit louder. It still has 75 stops, but on the hi-fi quad DAC, but it feels louder. And that's something that I can't understate, right? That may just be new phone talking, but how much I listen to the G8, I can't just think that, oh, new phone, it has to be, the quad DAC has to be better. Because that wasn't the case between like the V40 and G8. When I got the V40 and also when I got the G8, when I also had the V40, I was like, it's kind of a wash. Like honestly, it's kind of a wash. The G8 is a bit better. The G8 was a bit better than the V40, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was slam your V40 down now and get the G8 if you want audio. That's not what I would say. I would definitely say the V60 is better all around, but I will give you guys these caveats here. The V60 no longer has MQA support. It no longer has, it's not certified. It's no longer MQA certified. You can get MQA files on there, and you can still play them. I just don't think you can do it through the LG's Music app. You got to do it through a separate app, which is fine. Whatever. People tend to do that anyway. So, yeah. I keep getting these notifications, and it's making me flustered. It no longer has DTSX 3D surround sound. Instead, what it has is LG 3D sound engine. And it's basically just, it'll adapt to what you decide to use. Just like the G8, it works for both the speakers and the headphones. I would say it's a better effect on the speakers than it is the headphones. Not for music, but for everything else. And, it doesn't do the same thing, right? You do it on you have it on the G8, right? And what it is, you get wide, front, or side to side. And it just sounds overall, it makes them sound different, not necessarily better. But what I will say is that overall, I feel the V60 is more of the complete package when it comes, more of, not a complete package, but a better package. If you need that, MQA certification, which isn't the same as it not being supported. It definitely can still play the files, but it's just not supported. It's just not certified. So that's really the difference there. If you need that certification, go with the G8 or even the V50. That's fine. Another thing, and this isn't a problem for me personally, but it's a problem for people that may have smaller hands than me, right? The V60 is huge. It's a big phone. Even more so than the. Oh no, I don't want to do that. My G8 screen is cracked. It's huge, right? I like that. And it's thick, right? This is no thin phone. The G8 is not really a thin phone, right? It's actually it feels pretty substantial, but this makes that feel like a paperweight. It's weighty. It's thick. It has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. This has a Quad HD OLED display. This has a 1080p display. 3,400 milliamp hour battery versus 5,000, right? Those things to me, not having 1440p, whatever. For me personally, I don't really care anymore. So long as the display is quality. And most of the people I watch on YouTube don't have 4K content, don't have 1440p content. So that really doesn't matter to me. It doesn't have a high refresh rate display. It doesn't have 90 hertz. Doesn't have 120 hertz. But that also doesn't matter to me because of the simple fact that everything else about this phone feels really smooth. You can't really tell because it's a video that I'm taking with it. But the viewfinder on this is really smooth. It's really smooth. and it feels really nice. That's whether you go in video, that's whether you go in, you're just in the regular camera. The only time it really isn't like that is when you go into the wide angle. And the wide angle on here is definitely more wide than it is on the G8. It may be the same as the G8X. I don't have the G8X, so I can't say. But what I will say is that the overall user experience is very smooth on here. And that's something that a lot of people will indeed enjoy. Another thing is it has digitizer support, right? You can use a Wacom stylus with you can't use like the Note 10 stylus because it's proprietary, but you could use like a $100 like stylus that you'd be able to use on like a Surface Pro and stuff like that, and it works just fine. You can watch videos on it. I don't have one yet. I do plan on getting one, but you can indeed do that. And it's really cool because it gives you basically all of the important features of what a Note can do. The only thing it doesn't have is that it doesn't have the little crappy gestures. And I say crappy because they barely work a lot of the time. Sometimes you try to raise the volume, it would fast forward in the video or go to the next video, and it just never really worked for me. The only thing that worked was play pause and take a picture and stuff like that. That's the only things that really worked for me on my Note 10, but whatever. Yeah. Those differences for me personally aren't deal breakers. If you want a giant phone, a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, a dual screen case, the V60 is pretty much the one to go with, or the G8X, or the V50. But this is bigger even than the V50 at the same time too. And the dual screen case is more refined. The V50's dual screen case had this weird window in the back that was kind of weird. It was like, okay, this is a case. Why is there a weird like cutout in the back to see all this crap you don't really need to see? And that's probably why they decided to get rid of the fingerprint sensor on the back and put it on the front, But whatever, it's fine. Gaming. For a game I frequent, Marvel Contest of Champions. Maybe it's because it's not optimized for the Snapdragon 865 yet, but on my G8, it runs basically at 60. There are frame drops. It's very minimal, but it runs at 60 only on my G8. It's weird, man. Not on my Note 10, which also has a Snapdragon 855. Not on my OnePlus 6T, which has a 845, but it's still a fast and really good phone for gaming, unless you do it for elongated periods of time. Then I wouldn't advise getting it because it gets very hot. But yeah, this plays smooth still, right? It's like in maybe the higher 30s, maybe. Like, it's smooth enough, and it doesn't frame drop. Doesn't really frame drop that much. Maybe here and there on Contest of Champions, but it's not terrible. On every other game, like, say, Lineage 2 or Black Desert Online, it runs at a smooth frame rate at its highest settings and stuff like that, no problem. And that's something that's really nice. So if you're a gamer, I'll probably advise you to get the V60. Bigger battery, a dual screen case. You can, it will have a virtual controller that you could use on the main display or even on the top display, but I would advise you to just use it on the main display because then you could enable the haptics, and the haptics feel really good. Really good. But yeah. Another really design thing that I prefer on the G8 is that it has a flush camera module. It's not really a deal breaker or anything like that, but This really goes back to like the V30, V40, where it's raised up like that, but it's fine. In terms of design, I think I do indeed like the V60 better. It has like those HTC 10 chamfered edges with like the little curve at the bottom right there, and it feels really nice in the hand. The back looks like a Galaxy Note 5, and if you know my channel, the Note 5 is one of my favorite phones, right? And it really does look like that from the back, from like the curved edges right there. And I know that's probably why people say, oh, it looks like a Samsung phone. But what phone doesn't look like another phone these days? Like, even iPhones kind of started copying Android in terms of design and other aspects. So what really looks unique these days? In terms of battery life, I could get like 4.5, 5 hours of screen on time on here. I can push 8 on here, no problem. Like pushing it to 2 to 5%, I could get 8 hours of screen on time with mixed use of the dual screen case, of some gaming, of like dual screening apps like watching YouTube on the top and maybe like browsing the web on the bottom or something like the web. Oh God, browsing the internet on the bottom or something like that. Maybe looking for wallpapers and stuff like that, or who knows, playing a game. I actually did do that. I actually did do that at work earlier this morning. So I was playing Contest of Champions and I was watching a YouTube video, and that's really cool. And it gives you one whole display to work with rather than split screen. It just, you can kind of see all of the stuff. And you can still split screen on the main display. You can't do it on the secondary display, which is fine for me personally. And it feels like a DS. And I'm going to get back into emulation and I'm going to try it on here and see how it works, because that shit is really cool. But yeah, like I said, battery life, definitely better. Definitely better on the, sorry, I'm moving stuff. Decided I may as well just sit on this chair. But battery life, definitely better on the V60. Gaming, honestly, is kind of a wash. It depends on the game. It depends on how well optimized it is. But for most games, I would definitely say this would have the edge. Emulation, I would go with this solely because it has this. But you can't really go wrong with the G8 in terms of that either. So, it's like I said, it's kind of a wash. Speakers is where the G8 just looks like a wimp. Like, the G8 just looks like a wimp, man. So a lot of people have said the G8 has piss poor speakers, but I've always said this, right? I've always said that that's very situational depending on the video that you watch, because a lot of videos that people tend to watch, there are a lot of YouTubers that like mix their sound lower and stuff like that, because a lot of people listen to YouTube videos with headphones and they don't want to blow out their ears, obviously. So let me go to my initial V60 impressions video and show you guys what the difference is.
What's up, y'all? Sparta here. So I wasn't really planning on making a video today. I was going to save my video for tomorrow because I thought with the V60 I would have an unboxing video to do, but it didn't come in its retail box. An unboxing video to do, but it didn't come in its retail box. It just came in a generic Amazon box.
Okay, so here's the difference. Here's the one thing that the G8 still kind of what really helps the G8 is that it still has the boombox speaker. This no longer has that, but it replaced it for a better stereo speaker setup. This has an in-display speaker, a speaker under the display. I don't know why I said that twice, basically, and it's fine. Like, it gets loud enough, but for certain videos, it just sounds anemic. It just sounds very low. It doesn't sound like there's any. It almost sounds like your speaker got blown out. And like I said, that has to do with, well, not blown out, because then it will be like glitching and stuff like that, and it would some sound would be coming out, right? But it doesn't necessarily sound full. And that's my main problem with the G8. The V60, on the other hand, especially when you turn on the 3D audio engine, which it is on here, it sounds fuller, wider. Sorry, I need water. I've recorded like 3 videos and haven't drank water yet, so just keep that in mind, y'all. Yeah. Sounds fuller. If I watch videos with like a lot of like stereo separation and stuff like that, say you're watching Doom Eternal gameplay or something like that, stuff that's on the left will be on the left. Stuff that's on the right will be on the right. That's really for both of these, but it just sounds way better on the V60, and that's something way better. It just sounds better on the V60, and that's just something that I would say the V60 definitely has a leg up on with the, over the G8. Both these run Android 10. Both of these run LG's new skin, which I definitely am a fan of. It's a bit too Samsung-like, but to me it's not a big deal because it's better than what we had, and that's all that really matters. And honestly, people just kept complaining about LG not updating their software, and they finally did. So there you go. God, what else? Call quality I would give to the V60. I can't really call on the G8 because it's locked to Sprint. So can't really talk about that with that. But when I would like call, say through like calling apps or like through Facebook Messenger, it sounded serviceable. It sounded fine, totally fine. But the V60 definitely has a leg up on that because it has a speaker that's not under a display. Simply because of that. And that's cool. That's totally fine. What else? Like camera performance, I would say in terms of camera performance, you can't really go wrong with either. You get the same manual photo and video modes. You still get cinematograph. You still get all that stuff that you got on the G8. You still get it here. The only real thing that's a difference is that it has more mics and I would assume better mics. So yeah, it's definitely up to you on that point. It would definitely be comfort of the size of the device and stuff like that. Say you would necessarily want to hold a big, heavy, thick phone to record a video. I get that. Go with the G8. Say you don't mind and you actually like a big phone and you just want that big battery and that power. Go for the V60. But keep in mind that this isn't me trying to say that one is downright better than the other. I hate that kind of like mentality where people are, oh, the new phone is out. The new phone is by default better. No, that's not the case. But yeah, that's pretty much as far as this video goes. This is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for support. Hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday or whatever time of day it is in your area. Have a good one.